Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with deviled shrimp tostadas. That's right, tostadas are easy to make and fun to eat, and one of my favorite things to order at a Mexican restaurant, which makes it even more shocking I've never done a video for these. And while any and all your favorite taco fixings will work on tostadas, I'm going to show you my favorite version, which involves chilled spicy shrimp, or as we call it in the business, deviled shrimp. And to get started, the first thing we'll do is fry some corn tortillas over medium heat in some kind of oil, which for me today is going to be some avocado oil. And as soon as I place it in, I like to carefully swirl it around while holding the center down with my tongs, which will keep it from curling up and also get some of that hot oil going over the top. And I'm doing this because I'm not using a lot of oil. All right, if I had like an inch of oil in the pan, I wouldn't have to do this. But I'm shallow frying here, so I do like to move it around as shown. But you have to be extremely careful, since if we splash out a whole bunch of hot oil, it could catch on fire, and you could burn down your house, and you would totally blame me. So if you're going to do this, be very, very careful. But either way, we'll cook that for a minute or two on both sides, until it's beautifully blistered and golden brown, and completely crispy. Right, that is key. No soft, soggy tortillas. And of course, the exact time is going to depend on how thick your tortilla is and how hot your oil was. But I'm confident you'll be able to tell when these are fully cooked and crisp. And then what we'll do once we pull those out of the pan is give them a quick blotting on a paper towel, and then I'll just let them finish cooling on a rack. Oh, and I totally forgot to do it, but we should probably give these a pinch of salt after they're cooked. Okay, that's probably not a huge deal, since everything we're going to put on top of these is going to be very aggressively seasoned. But as far as best practices go, we do normally want to salt our tortillas after we fry them. And that's it. Once my tortillas were fried, I went ahead and safely poured off most of the oil from the pan, which of course we could use again for something like refried beans. But I am going to leave about a tablespoon in there, and I'm going to put that back on medium-high heat, because next up we're going to very quickly sear 8 large peeled and deveined shrimp. But we are definitely not going to cook them through. Right, all we're going to do is sear each side for about 30 seconds, just to make them a little bit sweeter and give them a little shrimpier flavor. Plus, they're going to firm up a little bit, which I think makes the next step a lot easier, since we're going to cut these things up in small pieces. And by the way, if your peeled and deveined shrimp come with the tails on, that's fine, just leave them on. And as you'll see, that's very easy to pull off once these are partially cooked. But anyway, like I said, we'll give each side about 30 seconds or so, at which point we'll remove those to a plate, and we will let those sit until they're cool enough to handle, which is only going to take about 5 minutes or so. Oh, and besides being very delicious, this is a very frugal recipe, since we're going to be able to make 4 tostadas with just 8 shrimp. So we're talking tasty, beautiful, and budget-friendly. And that's it. Once our shrimp have cooled down a little bit, we'll pull that tail off by giving it a little pinch. And then what I like to do is make one cut in the thickest part of the shrimp and sort of split that larger end in half. And that way when we turn it and slice across, we should get some nice uniform, fairly small pieces that once cut we will transfer into a bowl. And that's it. Once our 8 shrimp have been cut up, we'll go ahead and squeeze in a couple nice juicy limes, since what we're really doing here is making a shrimp ceviche, which is normally done with totally raw shrimp. But since I have that hot pan, I do like to give them a very quick sear for those reasons I already mentioned. And then besides the lime juice, which is the only mandatory ingredient, we'll go ahead and devil things up with a generous amount of ground chipotle, followed by a little touch of ground cumin, or cumin if you prefer, as well as a little bit of paprika, or other non-spicy ground chili. And then of course we'll add a few shakes of cayenne just to stay in shape. And then we'll finish up the seasoning with a little bit of salt. All right, not too much. We can always taste and adjust later. And then after the salt, we will do a drizzle of olive oil. And then we'll finish up with one shocking, surprise ingredient, a small but important spoon of ketchup. Oh yeah, you heard me, ketchup. Which is optional, but also mandatory. And that's it. We'll go ahead and give this a thorough mixing before eventually covering it with plastic and popping it in the fridge for at least an hour, although you can go much longer if you want. And as this still pretty raw shrimp sits in that marinade, the acid from the lime juice is going to finish cooking it, Although really it's not technically cooking. I believe the proper term would be denaturing. But would you rather have cooked shrimp or denatured shrimp? That's what I thought, so we're going to go with cooked. But anyway, the point is pop that in the fridge for at least an hour. And while our deviled shrimp are being ceviche'd, we can move on to the last component, a very simple avocado spread. And I think by now most of us know how to split an avocado in half by carefully cutting around the pit like this and then twisting the halves apart, and then removing that pit by tapping it with the knife blade. Although don't do it as hard as I did. That was kind of crazy. And also put a towel in your hand just in case. But anyway, most people know all that. But here's something people might not know. Never try to pull a slippery avocado pit off a knife blade. No, just press your thumb against the pit from the other side, and that pit will pop off with almost no effort. So that really is a much safer method. And then what we'll do is scoop that avocado into a bowl, and then we will add a nice big pinch of salt, since an undersalted avocado is an evil avocado. And then we'll also squeeze in the juice of 1 lime, at which point we'll take a fork or some other kind of mashing utensil, and we will smash this as smooth or as coarse as we want. And one thing I always forget is that an avocado is much easier to mash before you squeeze in the lime juice, since that makes everything more slippery. But what's done is done. And it really wasn't that hard, but I did want to mention, in case you don't have an extra 20 seconds to spare. But anyway, like I said, we'll go ahead and mash that as smooth as we want, at which point we can mix in the last 2 ingredients, which would be some finely diced jalapeno, or serrano for a little more kick, and then last but not least some chopped cilantro. And that's it. As soon as we stir that in, our avocado spread is done. And yes, if you have to, you can call it guacamole, but since I'm going to use it to spread over my tostadas, I'm going to call it a spread. And of course, before you wrap it up and pop it in the fridge, it is never a bad idea to give it a taste and adjust if need be, which I did, and mine was perfect. So I pressed some plastic over the top and popped that in the fridge. And then, assuming our shrimp had been in the fridge for at least an hour, we can move into final production. And now we'll start by uncovering our shrimp and tossing in whatever vegetable garnish we've decided to use, which in my case are some diced red onion, some diced tomato, which no, do not have to be perfect vine ripened. We will also do some diced cucumber, as well as some freshly chopped cilantro. And other than a pinch of salt to season the veggies, that is going to be it for me. I'm going to go ahead and take a spoon and give this a mix. And of course it goes without saying, but I will say it anyway. There are like 1,000 ways you could tweak this. Okay, if you think of something that you think would be good in a chilled, spicy seafood salad, go ahead and toss it in. I mean, you are, after all, the Rick Bayless of how to play this. But no matter what you use, once that's mixed, and we're happy with how it tastes and how it's seasoned, we can start building our tostadas by taking one of our fried corn tortillas and spreading over 1/4 of our avocado spread. And you can, but I don't think we want to go all the way to the edges, since it'd be nice to have something to grab to pick these up when we eat them. And then once that's been avocadoed, we can spoon over our beautiful deviled shrimp mixture, which I think is absolutely gorgeous, with all those beautiful fresh veggies. And then I would have absolutely no problem just eating this as is. But for one final touch, since this is kind of spicy, I'm going to drizzle over a little bit of Mexican crema, which is simply a thinner pourable sour cream. And that's it. My deviled shrimp tostada was ready to enjoy, which I'm going to do by picking it up and biting in. And not just one bite. Oh no, that was too delicious. I took 2. And that, my friends, really was tremendous. I mean, there's so much going on here, I don't even know where to start. Okay, first of all, we have all those beautiful contrasts between that crispy fried corn tortilla and that soft, silky avocado spread, as well as our tender pieces of shrimp, tossed with those crisp diced vegetables. So I would describe this as texturally thrilling. And then as far as the flavors go, we have spicy and sweet, always a fantastic combination, along with savoriness and sourness, and just the right amount of saltiness. And while I would enjoy this no matter what the weather is, if we're talking about making something cool and colorful and vibrant and refreshing on a hot day, I could not think of anything I'd rather enjoy than this. Oh, and one quick thing. When you go to buy your corn tortillas, make sure they're 100% corn and don't include any wheat flour. Okay, the combo wheat and corn will still brown up and look nice, but they do not get as crispy or stay as crispy. So like I said, make sure what you're using is 100% corn. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the only reason I switched to the fork is so that you wouldn't have to look at a bare plate while I took bites, since this thing is just too pretty not to look at. But anyway, how you eat this is not the important thing. The important thing is somehow, some way that you do eat this, which is why I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.